Well, it's a warm hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the League of MVP. We're here for round 7 of Season 7, and we take to the Principality of Monte Carlo for, what is going to be an absolute barnstormer of a race. The Monaco Grand Prix circuit is one that, it needs no introduction, really. I mean, it's a part of the Triple Crown of motorsport alongside the Indy 500 and the Le Mans 24-hour. It's a race that's at that level. It's a circuit that is, renowned for its difficulty to negotiate. It's one that if you make even the slightest of mistakes, it is a circuit that will chew you up and spit you out at a moment's notice. I mean, again, everyone that's watching this, surely you've been around Monaco. You know how difficult it is to get your way around. I mean, right here at the hairpin, slowest corner on the calendar, 30 miles an hour really average for even Formula 1 cars because of their small turning circle. So obviously it's a mightily tricky circuit. Let me know, of course, the balance of audio to the game and my voice, etc, etc. However, my name is Zach Sweeney. I'm going to be your commentator for what is now the 3rd week of League of MVP, and I am really looking forward to deliver yet another round of sensational racing action. And it all starts right here with, of course, the 18-minute short qualifying session. We'll take a look through, obviously, get all my data up and make sure I can look at everything all nice and fancy. Then we'll drop that back down and we'll have a quick look as to who is where. AJ Mando at the moment, of course, championship leader in the Ferrari, moving up after demoted after La Castellet a week ago. Now the championship leader goes the way of Snoopy for Aston Martin, I should say. I'm getting used to everyone. I'm slowly but surely getting there. The Aston Martin driver, Snoopy Dread, now leads the championship, 91 points, so 5 points clear of AJ Mando, who unfortunately couldn't make it to France. Then comes David Depay after a win in France to seal his 2nd of the season alongside Catalunya. Sees him in 3rd place with Avecii, lazy but talented George there in 6th. Mitch, Burmeister, Royal and Svamp, your top 10. So very close in the Drivers' Championship, incredibly close, and I do have to apologise for the lack of a graphic. I did do my best, but I didn't quite have time to sort everything out. And, we'll take a quick look as to the Constructors' Championship as well. Aston Martin leading the way, now 22 points clear of Ferrari, who really had a poor showing at France. 0 points added to their points tally, which allowed Aston Martin to grow the gap now to what it is. AJ Mando sets the benchmark, and 11:1 as it stands is the time to beat, but Mercedes and McLaren all still locked in that landlocked fight for 3rd. Mercedes versus McLaren separated by just 15 points, and the fight for 5th between Red Bull and AlphaTauri, the two sister teams, of course, separated by just a mere 2 points in that one also. Then comes Alpine, Williams, Alfa Romeo and a Haas, all to round out the field of 10 teams, 20 cars, of course, in the Formula 1 Championship. And, of course, how did they rack up last time out at La Castellet? David Depay took the win, George in 2nd, very close. A good strategy call by the Mercedes, but not quite enough in the end. A difference of only a couple of seconds, with Snoopy on home soil rounding off the podium. Then comes lazy but talented, unbeaten, Cami, Avecii, Royal Chicken and Smidge, your top 10, with the fastest point going the way of Svamp, who unfortunately did not finish inside the top 10. Now we head our way into qualifying, and, as you can see, David Depay is setting the benchmark already 0.5 of a second clear, half a second clear of AJ Mando, who at the moment is trying to improve. And, we'll have to wait and see as to what he can do. Svemp in there in P3 with Lazy Talented and Burmeister, your top 5. Unfortunately, we have already lost our first driver of Avecii, and this is through the casino section, through the right, of course, and very Mick Schumacher-esque. I think back to the 2021 Monaco Grand Prix, where, of course, Mick Schumacher had that incident there at the right-hander. Of course, not optimal for him by any stretch of the imagination through the, of course, Casino Square, and that sees him out of qualifying. What I am going to do is just turn the volume down slightly, whether it's a case of whether it's in my ear or whether it's the case of you guys at home. I'm just gonna have a quick little turn it down and have a bit of a play because it's a little bit loud. It might just be me, but again, I'm not entirely sure. So we'll just turn the master volume down one click and see how if that does anything. Again, just let me know. I'm still trying to figure everything out and work things out, etc., etc. But what we'll do, we'll focus on another driver for the moment. Smidge in the Alpine, running quite well down in P8, but about a second up to Snoopy, so needs a bit of a big improvement through Raskas. And into the pit lane, of course, for a very anticlimactic end to that lap. Dino, the Williams, through the swimming pool chicane and into Raskas. On the outlap, of course, mightily important, the outlap, specifically here at Monaco, where you have to get those tyres up to temperature. You have to psych yourself up for a very, very crucial hot lap. Qualifying is probably the most important part of Monaco Grand Prix weekend. While it doesn't decide all, it definitely really does help. Usually pole will win out. At least those on the front row will do incredibly well. Through Massenet and in towards Casino, a quick flick to the right. We'll have to see what Dino can do to the first sector. It's an 18.9, which as it stands is showing up as purple to the graphic. Down to first gear, trying to get the rotation full lock to the left hand down and in towards Portier, the very important right-hander, of course. A little bit too wide, though, not able to get onto the power as effectively as possible. Through the tunnel, very, very fast, very, very, well, flowing, of course. And then down onto the brakes for the Nouvelle chicane. Back on the throttle as you run your way up in towards the next left-hander. I need to brush up myself on corner names here at Monaco. Through to back, then the swim pool chicane in towards La Rascasse. Again, very easy to clip your inside right rear tyre on that little wall there, so you really have to be careful. Through the final corner and the dash to the line, what can Dino do? And as a first lap time, what's the benchmark going to be? P9, the 112.4. We'll jump our way back up to the front because David Depay now is starting his next flying lap in towards turn number 1 of Saint-Devote. Third gear corner, use as much of the curb on the inside as you can. You ride up through Beau Rivage, where we've seen countless amount of overtakes in previous years. 2019, of course, seeing Carlos Sainz catapult his way up the field. And through Massenet in towards Casino Square, the very quick flick to the right and in towards Mirabeau. 2.5 tenths quicker to the first sector, David Depay. So looking mightily quick on this opening lap. Full lock, of course, through the left of the hairpin. Only second gear, maybe to try and get the traction potentially. And in towards Portier, very late turning. Very early apex, but very early on the throttle also with that. Through the tunnel where you'll see the sparks flying, the engine roar. Once again into the Nouveau chicane, braking round about the 100 wheel downhill braking, of course, probably one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. And clipping the curb, you want to make it as straight line as possible through to back. And, well, it's all about bravery there. How much of a risk can you take? 3.5 tenths up now from purple through the middle sector also for David Depay. This could be a very good lap indeed. Bit of a traffic just in front of the Williams, but able to negotiate it just fine through Rascasse. Very nice and neat and tidy. And now, what could it be for David Depay to stretch the advantage to 1:10.3 as we approach the midway point of qualifying? Beautiful stuff, actually, from the McLaren. What can AJ Mando do? Royal, Svamp as well. 3-4 for Red Bull as it stands. And Svamp now setting the lap time in his Oracle Red Bull Racing machine. Lazy but talented for Mercedes up now to second place. The second driver into the 1:10 mark. But yeah, qualifying is so important around a circuit like Monte Carlo. You really have to be on it. And of course, not only in qualifying where you see the best of the best giving it absolutely everything. I mean, just look through here, the swimming pool section where you go through the left, then the right, and you are literally millimeters away from the wall. I mean, you look on sort of F1 and things like that, real life F1, and one thing that springs to mind is Sergio Perez, where his tyre literally skims the barrier. And that is the margin for error that we're looking at here at Monte Carlo, is literally millimeters. Not centimeters or inches or meters away from the wall. Millimeters. Tiniest of things, where literally the split second later of a turning or getting on the throttle or braking could see you in the barrier. That is what we're talking about when we come to Monaco. And Svamp actually looking on a pretty tidy lap in all fairness. Could see him up to the top 5. What's it going to be there? Up to 4th. 1:11.162. Very, very close actually in that fight for 4th between Svamp, his teammate Royal, Mitch GK, who's finally joined us for a race in the last few weeks. He's back in now for probably one of the most difficult races on the calendar. And is looking very, very, very strong up there in 6th for Ferrari. Trying to bounce back, of course, in the Constructors' Championship. 22 points behind Aston Martin as opposed to just the 1 as they went into Le Castellet for round 6. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing how this race develops. And, well, I mean, we're not going to, I guess, expect a real action-packed one with overtakes and side-by-side moments. I mean, we very well and truly might, and some, well, completely ignores the Nouvelle Chicane. So fair play for that one, I suppose. But yeah, we're going to see a more strategically led race, more so than you would see maybe in an endurance format, where it's difficult to really make those overtakes count on circuit. So you have to win the race in the pit lane. So coming in a lap earlier, a lap later, maybe benefiting off a safety car here and there. Again, of course, luck comes into that, but you have to make your own luck. You have to be in the right place at the right time and move yourself in the best position possible. Because you think back to 2020, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, where Pierre Gasly took his maiden victory for AlphaTauri, and so far his only victory for AlphaTauri. People say, oh, he's lucky because things happened, you know, he was in the right place at the right time. Yeah, he was. Pierre Gasly was in the right place at the right time. It wasn't Lance Stroll or Carlos Sainz. Well, yes, they did benefit from it. They weren't the ones to step up to the occasion like Pierre Gasly was. He was the one in the best position possible when it counted. And that's the type of things that we're talking about when we come to tracks like Monaco and just crazy races in general, where you have to really just be like, cool, okay, cool. Yes, the top 2 maybe are a bit out of reach, but I'm going to stay here in 3rd. I'm going to stay here in 4th. I'm going to keep my nose clean. I'm going to stay consistent and be there if anything does happen. And then you can write your own luck, which is a very, very rare thing to be in motorsport, is lucky. Oftentimes you find yourself tarnished by misfortune and things like that. Of course, not you know, it's not ideal. No one wants to be tarnished by misfortune by any means, because, well, it's out of order, isn't it, for motor racing to do that to you. But it's true. It's what we have sort of fallen in love with the sport for, is the fact that anything can happen at any time to anyone, very much indiscriminate, and doesn't matter how well you're doing, how bad you're doing, you will at some point feel the strike of the bad side of Lady Luck when it comes to racing. But Mitch back out on circuit, 4.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. He's at the moment looking pretty good for maybe a top 5 if he can find a bit more of an improvement, about 9/10 off the pole time of David DePay. So maybe looking to see him. He needs a big improvement, does Mitch? But again, we'll have to wait and see as to how things happen. At the moment, on his preparation lap for, of course, on the soft compound tyres, it's the no-brainer. The track does look very greasy. I don't know if that is just the graphics of the game making it look greasy. It's not raining. It's very much clear and sunshine and clouds and all that. It's not at all any overcast at all. So, yeah, maybe the track just is looking a bit greasy. Maybe it's just the shadows, potentially. But Mitch moving off the circuit to allow cars through. That is going to be Mike, I believe, in the Aston Martin to get ahead of him. He, at the moment, is sat 7th, and, well, it's very, very close indeed. Are we going to see any of the top 3, 4 into or back onto the circuit for another wrap? Savamp there in 5th, looking to improve to the first sector, though backing off of that one. We'll ride on board with Mitch to see how things pan out for his final run, really, in qualifying. You have to say it's what it's going to be. Try to set up the exit as best as possible, and maybe we'll see him catapult himself up to the top of the field. Yellow flags through sector 3, of course. Maybe just a bit of a game bug, but Mitch going for another warm-up lap. Maybe wanting to get the track as late as possible is the only thing I could really think about. In all fairness, I think that maybe he's just one of those tyres extra crispy, extra warm. Give himself maybe that other lap to psych himself up. As I always say, the mentality side of things is so important when it comes to sim racing and motor racing in general, where you have to give yourself that confidence, particularly at a circuit like Monaco. You cannot be doubting yourself. As soon as you doubt yourself, you second guess yourself, and you lose that confidence and you lose that drive. And as soon as that happens, say going into the Nouvelle Chicane, or, well, better, yeah, because the Nouvelle Chicane, in all fairness, it actually has got quite a large margin for error relative to what Monaco allows, say into Saint-Devoux or into Mirabeau. all it takes is you to doubt yourself and think, oh, do I brake there, do I brake there? And then you brake too late or brake too early. And by doing that, maybe you lock the rears, maybe you lock the fronts, maybe you turn too early, and in doing so, maybe you see yourself into the barrier. Is definitely a possibility and definitely something that could well and truly happen. David Depay is out there on circuit as it stands, and well, maybe doesn't need a hype up lap because he's flying on even his warm up lap of all things. So maybe just using the quick nature and the adrenaline rush of Monaco to get himself into that mindset. It depends driver to driver what they prefer. But on to one of the final laps in qualifying then. Our provisional pole sitter of David Depay is looking to improve. Of course, he's looking to improve upon his position in the championship of what sits now third place. He's 10 points behind AJ Mando and well, a subsequent 15 behind Snoopy Dread, and at the moment is sitting ahead of the pair of them, and that would be a good advancement forward before we head to the Netherlands on the 26th of February. David Depay, though, out there looks clean and tidy, at least for now. Didn't quite catch his split one time, but through Portier, again, a lot of different things can well and truly happen. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this lap pans out. The beauty of Monaco qualifying laps is that they're always on the limit. Through the left, then the right. Got to be careful not to cut, of course. And well, what can David Depay do? 1 minute left on the clock. This will be his final lap in qualifying. He might be able to squeeze one more if he wants it. Half a tenth up through the middle sector. No purple, but still looking good. A bit of a tap to the wall. Bit of paint rubbed off the front right end plate of that McLaren, but nothing to shake him too much. He's continuing on his lap. DRS open on that run to the line. Hug the wall as much as you can. Is it going to be a new pole time? Is David Depay going to set the benchmark? He is. A 1:10.141 now for the McLaren. AJ Mando, the pressure is on. Purple through the first sector. 1.2 tenths up, actually, as he runs his way through Portier to start sector 2. This could be a very, very good lap. His teammate of Mitch moving out the way for him, of course. He's still there in P8 looking to set a benchmark time. Through the left, then the right. Use the track as much as possible. Straight line the exit and trust the car on the throttle. Flick it to the left to back. Beautifully done. That was seamless from AJ Mando. This is a sensational lap. 2.5 tenths to the middle sector. He needs to find a little bit more in the final one. Into Raskas. Could we see a new pole sitter? Could AJ Mando step up to the occasion? The checker flag is waved. Qualifying is over. Run to the line. DRS open and we wait, anticipating for that time to reach the board. Is it pole? No. AJ Mando only, I say only, a 1:10.211. Just under about 7/100ths of a second back on David Depay. Incredibly close around an incredibly difficult circuit. Lazy but talented retiring from the session, of course, and well, we'll run you through the grid order as things stand for this race. What a battle for pole that was. David Depay, though, taking the pole time. That was phenomenal. Really good stuff. Awesome stuff. Thank you, of course, to the 4 people watching along. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications to not miss a thing when it comes to the League of MVP every Sunday at 8 p.m. CET, 7 p.m. GMT for those of us in the UK, and we'll translate that to whatever time zone you are in around the world because, well, it's never something you want to miss. Is the League of MVP. Week in, week out, they deliver fantastic racing. My name, of course, is Zach Sweeney. I'm the commentator, coming a few weeks ago, of course, to give you guys a broadcast, and hopefully I'm rising up to the occasion and doing something a bit decent. I'd like to think so in my commentary journey. But make sure you also comment in the chat. Give me some engagement. Talk to me. What are your predictions for the race ahead? What are your queries? Any questions? Anything like that? Anything along the way? Just to keep me occupied. Give me something to talk about. I'm the only one in the commentary booth, and it would be lovely to try and engage with you guys and bring you guys on to the broadcast as well. But after 18 minutes of qualifying, it's the Dutchman, the Flying Dutchman, the young one of David Depay for McLaren. 7/100ths of a second clear of AJ Mando, the American, who will join him on the front row of the field. Then comes Roy and Lazy for the second row. Svamp rounds off the top 5 with Team Red, joining him for company on the third row of the field. Bearmeister and Mitch, row 4, with Gunslinger and Josh Morton, your top 10. Then comes Cammy, just outside, but looking to advance. Incredibly close in that fight for 10th. Snoopy Dread, P3 last time out at France, but, well, his, I guess, second home race here at Monte Carlo, the small principality to the south of France on the southern coast of France. Only P12 though. Smidgen P13, Dino 14th, not able to really put a competitive lap time in. Process Avecchi, George unbeaten, your 18 car field. What a fantastically large grid that we have. Longest in a couple of weeks time. 18 cars fielded. Brilliant stuff. Of course, I'm going to take a step away just for a few seconds, get myself a drink, get myself a little bit of a breather, and we'll be back for Lights Out very shortly. And here we go, the 5 red lights, the Monaco Grand Prix, round 7 of the League of MVP Season 7. David DePay on pole, and we're underway in racing. AJ Manda gets a really good start, though, pulling to the left-hand side as they run their way towards Sandoval. Late on the brakes, though, goes the McLaren, forced the outer extremities. There's contact to the wall, and Royal moves up to second. AJ Mando dropping all the way down, now side by side with Laser but Talented as they rise up the hill of Beau Rivage in towards Massenet for the first time. David DePay leads from Royals. Famp now up onto the podium places. Laser but Talented and AJ Mando, a drastically poor start for the Ferrari, down to 5th in the opening moments, but a fantastic start, a fantastic defensive maneuver there from David DePay, and while side by side they concertina their way up into the hairpin for the first time. Couple of moves there, the Alpine potentially of Smidge trying to make some moves on the inside of the AlphaTauri, but nothing too much yet. Into the tunnel, and already David DePay trying to pull out as much of a gap as possible. The biggest losers there you can see on your screen, and well, already a fantastically good start to this race. Lap 1 of 39, of course. And, well, we'll have to flick our way up and down through the field to see what's going on. But as it stands, David DePay leads by 1.2 seconds in the opening moments. He is absolutely flying. Close between Avecchi and his teammate, the AlphaTauri of Bearmeister, I should say. That's my colour blindness. Looking to the inside, go for the old Larascas dive. Oh my goodness me. Contact, and there goes the Haas spin around B process into the pit lane. Oh no! A spin for, that was the Haas, I believe, a process trying to come into the pit lane, or was it Bearmeister trying to come into the pit lane? Indeed it was. Snoopy Dread in on the opening lap. A lot of damaged cars as they run their way through. That was, well, not ideal at all by any stretch of the imagination. Really, no one wanted to be involved in that at all. But into the hairpin, of course, for one more time around the circuit. Lap 2 of 39, we begin very short and sharp. These laps, you tick them off very, very quickly indeed. But, well, the opening lap chaos is over, and now it's time to anchor down and get yourself into a good mindset of as to what the race is what's coming in the race. AJ Mando, of course, his target is going to be to try and move up a few places from what was initially an incredibly good start. Got almost ahead of David into turn 1, but the outside line is never ever going to work. I'm sure he's not going to be too happy with it, but I mean, outside of Monaco, you're kind of really asking for trouble. Gunslinger becomes our first retiree of this session. What's happened? A spin out of the swimming pool chicane. Could we see a full course caution for that, or are we just going to get the car cleared up? Either way, Gunslinger out of this race for Alfa Romeo. DRS enabled as we head our way on to lap 3 of 39, and, well, still some very, very close battles materialising. Team Red for Alfa Romeo. Mike, of course, as he's betterly known, takes the reins for Alfa Romeo, and, well, Mitch is hot on his heels. The train forming for 4th place, or 3rd place, I should say, behind Svamp, the Red Bull, and maybe even Royal as well for 2nd. This is a train that spans, 6 cars all the way down from 2nd to 7th in this race. Bit of a gap back to the Haas of Cami, however. He's got Josh Morton for company, so already splitting up into little couplets or triplets, or even, well, sextuplets when it comes to the front fights. But David DePay 3.1 seconds ahead of everyone else on the field, and he can't get complacent, of course, as already Josh Morton becomes our second retiree of the session. I think a bit of a pile-up as well, potentially through the Nouveau chicane will follow on, and yeah, definitely a big pile-up. Something has happened. There you go, Smidge is unable to move. The lack of ghosting really catching him out as Josh Morton's car sits idle on the circuit. Josh Morton becomes retiree number 2 in 3 laps. But back to my point, just as I was making a moment ago, is the sense that David can't get complacent. Right, he's quick, he's consistent, he's got a gap, but it's Monaco. You cannot lose concentration for even a second, because as soon as you do, it will bite. So David's, his teammates out of the race. He's carrying the flag for McLaren, leading the way. Of course, the Monaco Grand Prix is the race that you want to win. Other than your home race, you want to win Monaco. And, of course, the first and last race of the season, as I was saying a couple of weeks ago, they're sort of the important races you want to win. But Monaco is one that, if you can win Monaco, you can win anything. Very demanding, very concentration-focused. Similar to sort of the Monte Carlo Rally as well, in some senses, where you gotta be sharp, you gotta be concentrated, you gotta be consistent. Otherwise, as I say, it literally is just a case of breaking a split second too early, too late, turning a split second too early, too late, getting on the throttle too early, too late. Just that split second difference. All it takes is 1 second, bam, and all that hard work is unraveled at a moment's notice. It happens so quickly that sometimes you don't even react to it. I'm sure for Josh Morton and Gunslinger, it was a case of turning into the corner, bang, and it took them a second probably to realise, oh wait, no, I'm out of this race. That is how easily things can happen, how things easily can just turn straight onto their head. But we round off lap 4 onto lap 5, and well, the fight for second still raging on. I think it is definitely going to be one decided in the pit lane because, well, Monaco, there's no way through. At all, there is no way through. Dino becomes the first driver to pick up a time penalty for multiple track limits incursions. But talking about big gainers and big losers, unbeaten sign from 18th on the field up to P9. P9, 9 places in the span of 5 laps, really capitalising off of other people's misfortune and saying, cool, there's a gap, there's a car crash, there's a car pile up in the wall, I'm going to make a move. And unbeaten sign really showing their skill. 10.8 seconds, of course, off Cami for yet another position, but hey, inside the points, what can you complain about at all? Into La Rascasse once more, and well, the Red Bull teammates might be getting a little bit angsty. Royal and Svamp second and third, of course. This will be doing their championship sort of charges wonderfully in their battle, maybe to try and catch up to the likes of McLaren and Mercedes. 45 points are Red Bull, 82 points in McLaren, so a difference of 37. And as it stands, McLaren are only scoring 26 points. Red Bull will be scoring 18 plus 15, so 33. So a good couple of points there in change. And, of course, gaining on Mercedes doubly, I think, because George is not even in the points. Lazy but Talented is there in 4th. Big step forwards then for both McLaren and Red Bull in their charge against Mercedes for 3rd place in the championship. What more could we see as the season progresses? David DePay, there we go. Exactly what I was talking about. 3-second time penalty, corner cutting. While it doesn't spell the end of his race, it could well do as, oh my word, I turn away from 1 second and it's all kicked off in the fight for second. Svamp now, maybe with a bit of damage, falling almost behind Lazy but Talented. How they've all managed to stay 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th as they were, I do not know. But something has definitely happened. Literally turned away for 1 second to talk about David, and well, something happened that spelt sort of an awkward moment. Let's have a quick look as to tyres as well, actually. That is probably a good thing to speak about. Everyone apart from Avecii on the mediums. So it should be a fairly plain sailing medium to hard affair for these guys. We're following on then the fight for second, and well, still no way through as it stands. Lazy but Talented in towards Massenet. And again, get used to this sort of trying to go for a move but can't. It's Monaco. But now, if I turn away, are you guys going to behave? Is what I'm saying about. Is if I go away, I've got to. It's like sort of Schrodinger's principle. I guess is that as soon as you turn away, something. I don't know. I think that's along those lines. If you don't see it, it didn't happen. But yeah, I've got to be careful not to miss anything when it comes to those guys. David DePay, however, 3 seconds ahead, or 8.9 seconds clear of Royal, which is fantastic for his race, but a 3-second time penalty. It was so easy. And picking up the first penalty in the opening moments of the race is definitely not what the young McLaren driver will want. But it's small things like that add up, and maybe that penalty got frustrated to him. Maybe he's getting a bit more frustrated. Maybe his blood is boiling. And when you start to do that, when you get frustrated, you get angsty, maybe that's when you start making a bit more mistakes. That pressure starts to creep through. That frustration starts to creep through. But David DePay at the moment seems composed as ever on his charge out in front. It's been a phenomenal drive. And while David DePay is going to be looking for... Well, let me just double check, actually, because I think it's going to be his second or third win of the season, if I do remember correctly. It's one of the two. We'll have a quick look at the results. As it stands, he won in Spain, he won in France, and well, he could well do a win in Monaco. Still a long way to go, of course, but what's maths? But a fourth of the way through, quarter of the way through, a little bit over, a little bit under a fourth of the way through at the moment. But actually, it's a fifth of the way through. But round it up to 40, so it's a fifth of the way through. We're 20% of the way through the race, guys. Don't trust the commentator's maths. I got a grade 8 in GCSE. It's decent, okay. I did my stuff, but can't do it on the fly. Never trust a commentator's maths. When it comes to pit strategies, laps counted, anything like that, don't trust it. It's a bad idea. It will not help you out in one bit, and still the train, well, all aboard the Red Bull Express, I suppose, is the only way to put this. Choo choo. Through the right, and downhill, of course, in towards Mirabeau, and he's a bit talented. I mean, again, it's that thing of maybe he's quicker at this stage in the race, but can't make any advances, and Svamp is doing his teammate Royal a world of wonders. Being treated like royalty is the Norwegian, and his teammate is backing everyone up. The 5-car train that spans from himself all the way down to Mitch there, and the pressure may be on. Maybe a bit of a look there from the Mercedes. Bit cheeky. I mean, it's not the first time we've seen Red Bull and Mercedes go toe-to-toe here at Monaco. Thinking back to the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton battling it out. Well, Lewis Hamilton was on some very, very old medium tyres, and there goes Lazy, maybe tarnishing his progress. A 3-second time penalty, the smallest of jumps over the curb, but it was enough to trigger the in-game warning system to pick him up his third penalty of the race. DRS open, of course, as they run their way down the pitch straight towards turn number 1. Oh my word, so close to contact. Svamp defends it, holds the inside line, and now they run their way up the hills, looking to the inside, squeezing his way through, up the hill, through Beau Rivage, and Les Botanas has the inside for Massenet through Casino Square. Has Svamp got anything to hold on to? No, he hasn't. Contact and some incredibly heavy understeer. You have to imagine a bit of damage, and there's the look maybe from AJ Mando to move up a place. Great bit of racing, but very, very argy-bargy. The only way to put it, I mean, I guess that's the way it has to go at Monaco. That's the only way it can go here at Monaco. Because otherwise, there's just no way. There's no other way through. And yeah, it definitely seems that Svamp has picked up some damage in that battle. AJ Mando was also very, very close to the rear end of Svamp. Oh my word, it's a short fuse. Short fuse, and all it takes is a spark, and bang, everything explodes. A chain reaction of unparamounted proportions. That was very dramatic and very over-exaggerated. Hyperbole, I think, is the word I'm looking for. Looking back to my GCSE English language, once again, using my big brain that I definitely do have. AJ Mando still looking on the back of Svamp, though, and of course, Team Red sandwiched between the two Ferraris, and there goes side by side AJ Mando looking to the outside of Beau Rivage. Oh my word! Sandovo, I should say, and he completely lost his front wing. Not even just the end plate, the front wing entirely. There goes Mitch up into 6th, and AJ Mando from 2nd place in the championship, from 5th place in this race. Clumsy once again to go to the outside of Sandovo. Really was clumsy to go to the outside there of turn 1. Once again, he didn't learn from what happened on lap 1, and with Samp with front wing damage and understeer, it was only natural that that thing was going to happen, and surely the better judgment should have taken over for AJ, but I mean, it was worth a go, I suppose, but was it worth throwing away this race in the early stages? An unbeaten sign retiring from this race after making up 9 places in the opening moments is now out of the session. Could we see our first safety car due to it? Nothing happening just yet, so I'm going to hold station on the call, but very much attributing itself to be a race of attrition. Could we see our first pit stops? There we go, Svamp into the pit lane for what should be, I'd imagine, damage repair. AJ Mando following him in also into the pit lane. But yeah, not great. I don't know. What do you guys make of that in the YouTube chat? Bit iffy. New front wing end plate, of course, going on for Svamp. AJ Mando just in behind. They came together a little bit earlier on. I mean, iffy is what I'm going to put it down to. I'm going to put it down to iffy. Bit of an awkward one. Onto the hard compound tyre, all the way to the end of the race, you would imagine, for these guys. But David Depay, well, he's at the moment looking to have a barnstormer of an event as we approach a third of the way through this race onto lap 12 of 39. Lap 13 will become the third way mark, and closely followed by Smidge, actually, is Vamp, who's now rejoined the circuit and split up that fight for second. Royal now able to chill, but he's but talented, putting a bit of pressure on. We'll go to a fight a little bit further back. The other Mercedes of George, who his alias is Your Nan's Bread's girlfriend. Again, bizarre names, but Avechi is putting some pressure on through Portier in the Aston Martin, whose 2023 livery is in the game, or it might as well be, because they're exactly the same. Same can be true about most of the fields, in all fairness. Probably just a bit more exposed carbon fibre going their way, but through to back, the flicks to the left, a very high-speed, mid-speed corner. It's sort of the upper end of mid-speed, lower end of a high-speed corner. Very, very interesting corner, very, very fast corner, very fun corner, in all fairness. Not that I've indulged in Monaco on F1 22 just yet. I mean, I've had the game since it came out, but I've just not really played it. I don't know. Maybe I need to get myself into some league racing or something, because I don't really like racing against AI or anything like that. I prefer sort of real people, real competition, and that's when I have my fun. But yeah, just nothing really happening for me in terms of Monaco and F1 in general. To be fair, it's hard to find a lobby, hard to get in and actually race other people. So just sort of here and there if I feel like it. Although if there is a game I'd recommend for online racing, it's iRacing. It's expensive and your pockets will be empty. You'll burn a hole straight through them. But it's so worth it for the immersion, the realism, the fun, and the online racing that you do get. The community is second to none. The broadcasting potential that you have on there as well is so amazing. And yes, granted, it's a tenner for each car and track individually. And yes, you have to pay, well, $200 for every 2 years of using the service. The cheapest bundle, of course, buying in bulk for 2 whole years for $200 is the cheapest that you're going to get it, unless you get it on, of course, a winter sale or something along those lines. But at the moment, we're on F1 22, and well, the realism and immersion of Monaco very much is coming in with front wing changes all over the place. Snoopy Dread rejoins the circuit, the Frenchman who, well, of course, as I say, second home race in a row from France to Monaco, the Côte d'Azur, the southern coast of France. I think it translates to sort of like the blue coast or something along those lines. Obviously, blue in French is bleu, but I don't know. I remember something in France about Azur being associated with blue because the ocean's blue. I don't know, something along those lines. I know Côte is coast. I know that much. And mer is sea. Bord de la mer is beach because it's like the border of the sea. See, I know my stuff. Who is it? Is it Victoria and Gailey that picked me up on my French last week, or someone? I think it was. But I know my stuff. I'm clever because I always used to associate the French stuff with anything I could relate it to Formula One. Team Red and Mike into the pit lane, of course, for Alfa Romeo, just a little bit further up into the pit lane for the first time in this race. But Yeah, I always used to associate the French words and stuff to F1 in my French lessons and be like, oh yeah, Monaco and Spa and Canada and Montreal and things like that. I used to be like, yeah, no, I know this stuff. I'm F1. I used to always say in my French speaking exam I wanted to be a commentator on F1 driver. Actually, side by side, we'll come back to that in just a second because Avecii's looking to the outside of Massenet and the Aston Martin. Soares his way out around the outside in towards Casino Square. We'll have the inside line still side by side with the Mercedes of George. They emerge on the downhill run to end off Sector 1 in towards Mirabeau. The Aston Martin has the inside line. Is George going to concede? No, he's not. A bit of argy-bargy as they run their way through. Avecii up into P9. Brilliant stuff. Fantastic side by side. It takes two to tango, of course, and Avecii on those hards working his way back into his own. Fantastic. Gaily, yes, I'm French, but my English is so bad. Well, I'm English, but my French is so bad, so there you go. But yeah, wow, what a move from Avecii. That was sensational. Really, really good stuff. Into the pit lane comes Royal from second place on the circuit, and a yellow flag, actually. Could that be the Aston Martin, or the AlphaTauri, I should say, Bearmeister? Dino retires from the session. Yeah, honestly, let's go, Avecii. What a move. So far, the move of the season for me. I haven't seen the whole season. I've seen 3 rounds, but move of the season. I love that. That was beautiful. The epitome of art. I don't know. Again, I'm very much exaggerating it, using my hyperbole. Lap 16 of 39. David Depay from the race lead into the pit lane as well, and Royal really struggling to get those hard compound tyres up to temperature. Really, really is struggling. I mean, when you get onto a new compound tyre, particularly the hards, it's so important to warm them up, especially when you've got the likes of Lazy But Talented on your tail, Mitch as well, who are now coming into the pit lane for an overcut in this race. And while yes, they're going to have to get their tyres warmed up the same as Royal, they are going to have the track position that Royal won't have, and it's all good having warmed up tyres if you can't get past around a circuit like Monaco. So we'll have to see. Race against time. Is Lazy going to leave the pit lane? There he is. Royal drag race in towards Sandovo for turn number 1. I think Lazy But Talented has been able to get it. Got the track position thanks to the warmer tyres, and they emerge up the hill through Beau Rivage. 3 and 4. Mitch GK still yet to come into the pit lane, of course. And well, now this is Royal's time to pounce. Was the early pit stop worth it? But Lazy But Talented up 2 seconds in the pit lane sequence just by using the overcut. And well, Lazy But Talented doing a fantastic job, and you can tell that Royal's faster on those warmed up hards, but no way through. At least for now. At least for now. But again, still a long way to go. Still about half this race left in the bank. David Depay rejoins the circuit, just a 10th behind Mitch, who's trying to put his way to the pit lane. Oh my word, they come together. Mitch sideways and completely bottling that. David Depay tries to work his way through. A bit of contact there. And that was probably a sketchy moment for our race leader. Into the pit lane comes Mitch, who is most certainly going to lose the place to Lazy. He leaves the pit lane. Actually, he's got quite a far way to go. I mean, it's going to be close, but he's probably going to lose out a few seconds to those in behind. Now leaving the pit lane, and yeah, a long way off, actually, in all fairness. Vamp might actually be able to close the gap and be closer to Mitch than Mitch was to those around him. So a fight for 4th here. Through the left, then the right. Pretty much the theme of these races is just turning left and right. AJ Mando just trying to work his way as forward as possible. I mean, he's had a pretty poor race. I hate to say it, but it has been. It's been poor from AJ. I mean, second place in qualifying, did the job, was very, very close. Only 7/100ths of a second back off the pole sitter of David Depay, but couldn't continue that form into the race. Outside line through Sandovo twice, and neither time did it work. Unfortunately, the latter time was worse off. Saw his front wing gone, and once again a bit of an off. There's wide from Svamp though, and again sideways. Oh no, AJ, don't do that. Collision between the pair of them, and continuing still. This is dire. This is poor at its finest level. AJ Mando is going to keep the place, and I don't think Svamp's going to be too happy with that one. 5-second penalty for severe collision with AJ Mando. I entirely disagree with that. That was, again, they come together, and Svamp is crashed, and again, I don't know how this has happened. This is completely Monaco sort of driving standards. I don't know. They've blocked the circuit, both of them facing each other. AJ Mando still yet to move. He's just talking about how poor of a race he's had, and this just emphasizes that in its entirety. AJ Mando, that was not Svamp's fault, the initial contact. The second definitely was the worst. Was the fault of Svamp. But AJ Mando, the dive into the final corner, I get it. Moves at Monaco are hard to make, but that does not excuse desperation. You cannot just go sticking your nose into places that they don't belong. And AJ Mando has found that out the hard way and sees himself now out of the points. And, well, David DePay could be taking the championship lead, I want to say very tentatively. We'll have a quick look. I'm just gonna double check, just a quick little double check. In terms of the championship, Snoopy Dread out of the points. The championship leader out of the points. 26 points gone. AJ Mando out of the points. 18 points gone. David DePay, 26 points gained. That would see him into the lead of the championship after this race as it stands. Snoopy Dread, AJ Mando, the top two in the championship, having very, very poor runnings. And, well, it's very much looking good for the front five. And, by the way, can we just talk about the fact we've got 9 different teams all making up the entirety of the top 9. Fantastic stuff. I mean, it doesn't really mean much in terms of the fact that they're all equal performance and things like that. But the fact that all 9 of the teams are able to make up the top 9 is awesome. It shows how competitive this season is, how close it is, of course. And, well, Svamp becomes our 6th DNF of the race. AJ Mando rejoins the circuit to maybe hope that he can scrape a point, but even that will not stop David DePay from taking the championship lead. There goes his teammate to lap him, Mitch, and that really put salt in the wound, similar to sort of Daniel Ricciardo back in 2021. While it was different circumstances, of course, being lapped by your teammate in the race is not something you want to have at all. It's incredibly unfortunate, but that's how the cookie crumbles. And if AJ Mando wants to win this championship, it depends on how he negotiates the rest of this race. If a couple of people more have DNFs, he can pick up a point and maybe sort of limit the damage to an extent. But definitely what could have been in this race for AJ Mando if he'd just been a little bit more clever. I think it was more patience and desperation that seeped through for AJ than anything. And you can't be having that as a champion. You can't let that raw emotion get to you, because you lose your rational judgment. You lose that thing that gives you the good decisions. And while, yes, I know that's a very big contradiction to say, well, aren't they meant to decide quickly, and aren't they meant to lead with confidence and in their stride and go with that first thought that goes in the mind? Yes, but rationally. You're meant to have a calm, composed state of mind that thinks, yeah, no, I can do that, so I'm going to go for it. Not, I'm really frustrated, there's a gap, I'm going to send it, and then it might cause an incident, and then you cause the incident. That is not what I'm talking about. Unfortunately for AJ Mando, he needs to very quickly learn that moving forward, going into the Netherlands in a week's time, and of course Austria and the races after that, you've just got to be so careful as a championship leader, and of course bounce back and recompose yourself, reconvene, regroup, and go again. Go into the Netherlands as a new driver. Smidge picking himself up a 3-second time penalty for once again multiple warnings. But David DePay, we follow on with our race leader, who is really having a quiet day in the office. Not too bad of a quiet day in the office as well, let's put it that way. Thanks of course to Destacado Gameplays and Gailey for watching along. Bearmeister though sets the fastest lap, takes 1 point away from the race leader of David DePay. So Bearmeister could be looking pretty good in that Alpha Tauri. Bearmeister looking mightily good a couple of weeks ago at Hungary, of course, and was able actually to take the victory at the end of it. It was a late move from George to maybe try and scrape the position late on, but Bearmeister is a very, very quick driver in his own right, and at the moment stands P7 in this race. Sort of in no man's land, really, for the AlphaTauri, who's, well, 14 seconds up to Avecii and 14 seconds back to your Nan's Bread's girlfriend. of course, George. I'll never get over that name. I love it. So it's a very peculiar name, and I mean, we've got David DePay. Yeah, awesome. You use your name. That's great. It's easy for me because I can just call you by your name. I love that. I love calling people by their name. Late but talented. Yeah, cool. It's a nice name. Royal. Yeah, going off your name, I suppose. Mitch GK. Yeah, cool. Going off your name, I suppose he plays goalkeeper if he plays football. Team Red. I mean, he drives an Alfa Romeo, so maybe he's on red team. But Mike, of course, Avecii. It's a nice name actually. It's one you don't often see. Burmeister is to be fair, is quite cool. And if you're wondering what that rattling is, it's just me playing with my bracelet. I do apologise, and never usually gets picked up. But I can just imagine if you can hear it, that's what the little rattling sounds is. But anyway, Burmeister. Yeah, it's a nice name, all in caps. So I think I have to shout it every time I say it, but I'm not going to for the sake of my voice. I have to save it. But then your your nan-breads. Yeah, not your nan, your nan-breads girlfriend. Cool. Yeah, glad we're clear on that. I thought it meant nan as in your mum's mum or your dad's mum. But anyway, besides the point, your nan-bread's girlfriend. Fantastic. And then Cammy, cool, your name. Snoopy Dread's a cool name. Very Snoopy. And speaking of him, actually 3-second time penalty. Here comes AJ Mando looking to make a move, and once again contact between the two championship leaders coming into Monte Carlo. And they come together, no harm, no foul, of course, but AJ Mando is, I don't know, scratching against his name, I think, in terms of reputation in this race. I think that he's going to be a very frustrated guy, and maybe the steward's going to take a look at a couple of track limits and, obviously, incidents that have been happening. A couple of incidents, and I don't want to slate him too much because I'm sure he's a fantastic guy, and I'm sure he's a very nice guy. He's a very fast driver, a very good driver, but in terms of today, in terms of this performance, not been great. It's not been great. Of course, Smidge becomes the 7th retiree, joining Svampdino, Unbeaten, B-Process, Josh Morton, and Gunslinger for now what is only 11 people left in the race, coming on to the final 14 laps of the Monaco Grand Prix. While the Red Bull just ahead of AJ Mando is, well, mightily close. And, I mean, maybe even despite blue flags, we're going to see AJ Mando try to get the lap back. Royal, 3-second time penalty. Up there in third. Doesn't really want to take any risks. He's got to be careful of Mitch, who's only 1.9 seconds behind. But also be in a position that if something happens to Lazy, to be able to capitalise on it. Yeah, I think AJ Mando is the quicker driver, but not the most consistent and not able to find a way through for now. At least, if I was Royal, I would, I'd let him go. Just let him go. Not worth your time, not worth defending or anything like that. He's actually going defensive to try to discourage the move, but all it is risking him driving into the back of you. Every lap that he's behind you, it's a risk. So I would just let him go. And while, yes, his teammate is right behind him and he might actually hold you up if you do let him go, you're going to want to have that free air. And there's the move potentially, again, just covered off. And with each passing moment, Mitch closes the gap. And, well, I get Royal wants the car in between them, but they are teammates. And, well, I think AJ is just going to let his teammate go if the time comes. Nothing really happening again. This is an interesting position to be in. What do you guys make of it? Back at home in the YouTube chat, what are you guys thinking along? Of course, make sure to like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications here for the League of MVP. If you are enjoying, make sure you don't miss anything every Sunday at 8 PM Central European time. AJ Mando, a 5-second penalty for ignoring blue flag, not letting his teammate through after 3 waves of the blue flag, and he's not going to want to pick up another one. I do also play F1. I mean, as I said a little bit earlier on, it's a game I play. AJ Mando, a 3-second penalty. Oh my word, those are racking up thick and fast. Another one for ignoring blue flag. Surely he's close to being disqualified as AJ. He at the moment is in the points, gaining 1 point from this race. So he doesn't want to risk disqualifying himself. But yeah, I do occasionally. It's a game. It's a fun game to play. I do enjoy the F1 games, but I struggle to get myself online and find a lobby that's full and full of clean people, and to actually enjoy myself in. I struggle with that, and I'm not a driver that really enjoys fighting against the AI. I prefer with real people, with real competition, because it just feels better, and it's more fun. So maybe I need to get myself into some league racing and practice a bit hard, but this game cycle's not really been the best for me. I got the game and then my wheel broke, which put me out of action for quite a while, and now I've got myself a sim. I've got myself a play seat with Thrustmaster with the 2010 Ferrari add-on. I think it's in that area. It's not the new Thrustmaster add-on for Ferrari, but the older one. And I love driving. I love sim racing. I've competed in esports competitions and stuff like that. But yeah, not F1 22. Not this year. Maybe next year. We'll see if I can get more into it next year, or this year I should say, actually, for 23. Or maybe I'll just jump in when these guys got an open lobby. I don't know. Hurry to start of the season. Yeah. But I mean, maybe I could drive for next season. I don't know. But I mean, my Sundays will start to get booked up very soon, with the Formula Sim Racing Championship. And is that AJ Mando defending against his teammate? I don't know what this is. This is. Oh no, it's not. It's Mitch trying to defend from his teammate. He's been able to get through, and AJ Mando's been able to stay behind then. Mitch now 8 tenths back. The fight for the podium rages on into the final moments of this race. What could we see going forward? But AJ Mando needs to be very, very careful. We'll quickly pull up the penalty situations. 16 seconds. So he's halfway to a disqualification. He got to keep an eye out, because again, they will add up. I'm pressing the wrong buttons. I'm panicking. Producing is not my forte, guys. I literally, when it comes to commentary, I sit and I look at what I'm talking about. I look at some information, look at my notes. That is it. I don't press any of the buttons. I don't do all the broadcasting and live streaming side of things. I leave that to a dedicated producer who's got 3 different PCs and 20 different screens all on the action and can change the cameras whenever he likes. That's not my job. My job is to talk about the pretend race cars. And Mitch GK getting very, very close to the wall riding it, of course. This isn't NASCAR style. But he's looking mightily feisty in the rear end of Royal, who's really fallen off the back of Laser but talented. And this race has very much diffused itself, as it would at Monaco. It's been a good race in its own right, very chaotic, and well, a good race for David DePay, of course. He'll be taking the championship lead come the end of this race. Through the tunnel and down and towards the Nouveau chicane. I'm pretty sure there's... I need to check. The Nouvelle. That bit literally translates to new chicane, right? If I'm not mistaken, that translates to new chicane. Which I don't know, because... I mean, yeah, no, fair enough, actually, because there never used to actually be a chicane there. It used to just be a straight line all the way through to the back, I'm pretty sure. Or is it just... I don't know, because it's not necessarily a new chicane. It's weird. I don't know. The Nouvelle chicane. It's called what it's called. We don't question corner names. We just call them by them, and get on with it. We just get on with it. We don't question it, because as soon as we question it, we become liable for it, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, into the final 10 laps then of the race. Lap 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I had to double check my maths just to make sure, because it's the lap you're on. It's the laps of the race minus the lap you're on plus 1, because you have to include the lap you're on as a lap, and the final lap, and blah. Yeah, maths. Fun. Boring. Awesome. I'm a commentator. I don't do maths. I leave it to people behind the scenes to do the maths for me again, because I'm very pretentious like that. But anyway, we focus on this fight for P3. And still, Royal is hanging on quite well. We'll actually take a quick look at the penalty situation. Of course, 3 seconds apiece for the pair of them, and Laser Talented with 6 seconds. So if they were able to gain a further few seconds, they might actually be able to get themselves up into second place in this race. Lap 31 to 39 as David DePay ticks off yet another one. Mitch DK with a 3-second penalty that has tarnished his hopes for a third place in this race. Unless, of course, Royal picks himself up yet another one. Actually, what we'll do, we'll check. Let's have a quick little gander. Cheeky little gander. Of course, I want race director. There we go. We'll click on Royal. We'll view lap times. We'll have a quick look. Warning, warning, penalty, and warning. And Sins has picked up no warning. So 3 warnings and another penalty. So Mitch, he's got a lot more to gain, as Royal has got this in the palm of his hands. Looking very, very good to secure P3, which is very, very good for Red Bull and their advancements forward. But of course, with the loss of Svamp in this race, from 2nd and 3rd in this race, it now becomes Mercedes gaining points on Red Bull. But also with that, McLaren will be gaining points on Mercedes. So the gap will be... let's take a quick look at the fastest lap situation as well, just while we're here. It's here somewhere. Fast lap, there we go. Yeah, David Payne needs a faster lap. So Burmeister picking up the fast lap point means that we've got David Payne with 25. So 7 points difference, which will bring the difference to, as it stands, 15. So it'll bring it down to 8. So gap closed for McLaren in the fight for 3rd. Red Bull also losing a couple of points, but staying stationed as best they can, limiting the damage as best as possible. .32, 39, and well, Mitch is probably running out of choices. What does he do? How does he approach this last few moments? Does he try to put some pressure on? Maybe bait Royal into a mistake and then pull out those 3 seconds? We don't know. But just looking at the right of the intervals, you can see Avecii and George, your non-bred girlfriend. Again, fantastic name. I'll never get over it. Both up 9 places apiece in this race. Similar to what we saw from Unbeaten before the subsequent DNF. So looking pretty good in terms of points and, of course, positions gained for those ones. Burmeister also up 6. Looking really good. AJ Mando, though, biggest upset of this race, I think, down 8 places. Let's hope no one's an American supporter of AJ Mando. He will be losing 2nd place in the championship in this race. And yeah, well, costing Ferrari a couple of points as well, with Avecii up there in 7th, gaining Aston Martin even more points. Snoopy Judd down, of course, in 11th, not gaining any points, but yeah, Avecii doing a fantastic job there, trying to stretch the advantage in the Constructors' Championship. We focus the attention. Mitch having a look. Royals thought to give him the space, and honestly, if I was Royal, I would. Give him the space, let him have it. Obviously, he's got the penalty that all Royal has to do is stay within 3 seconds, but I guess the risk is carried that, what if he gets away? There's not really much that you can do after that point. Side by side as they run their way through the hairpin. It was known as the Grand Hotel hairpin, the Lowe's hairpin, and there's so many different corner names for so many different corners. Just look to Spa, and you've got La Source, turn 1, then you've got Eau Rouge and Radion, then you've got the Camel King, then into Les Commons, then Malmedy, then you've got Ravage or Bruxelles, or Bruxelles or something like that, and then you go into Speaker's Corner, No Name Corner, Jackie X Corner, then you go into Pouon or the Double Gauche, which literally translates to the double left. There's contact, actually. We'll come back to that in just a second. Mitch GK completely losing his front wing, invites his teammate back through for another lap and into the pit lane. Royal stays out to takes 3rd place. Very, very clumsy stuff. Into the rear end of Royal goes Mitch and into the barrier, and actually now losing out not only the chance for the podium but also 4th place, as Team Red of Mike will find a way through. Burmeister might be eyeing it up as well. It depends as to how slow he's going to be through the pit lane. That is a big talking point in the final moments of the race. Mitch has been pretty much seamless up until now, and unfortunately it's all come undone in the dying stages. There is Royal actually going quite slowly. I think just allowing the lap traffic through. He's actually lost his front wing as well. Royal lost his front wing. Red Bull could well and truly be losing not only a podium but also quite a good amount of points in this race. Royal has thrown that away. The Norwegian looking for one of his best results of the season. Looking, of course, and, well, not yet able to get onto the podium. Nothing. Not even into the top 5 yet, but could have seen himself up inside the top 3, but he's thrown that all away in the final moments of this race. Maybe picked up a bit of damage initially with that contact with Mitch, and then that damage led to more damage, which led to more damage, and while Royal will come into the pit lane, and Mike will actually inherit the podium for what will actually be his first race on the podium this season. What an interesting dynamic. What a throwaway. What bottle jobs. Yeah, Gailey is like, no, we don't have that. No, absolutely not. That is very, very unfortunate. And Royal, not great. But Mike is going to step up to the occasion. Actually, he's staying out, hoping that he can hang on. I mean, it's better to have the track position, I suppose, at Monaco. Even without a front wing, if you're slow enough, you can maybe, depending on, I mean, it's a circuit that doesn't really depend too much on the aerodynamic downforce. It's one that you're going slow enough anyway, the car will respond. So losing your front wing, if you can keep the car slow enough and obviously retain that track position, as I said, you might actually be okay. And Team Red and Mike is only gaining about a second this lap. And as it stands, that won't be enough. I believe Royal only has 3 seconds. So if you can keep it clean, if you can keep it tidy, Royal might actually still have this podium. It's a race against time. Of course, Mike is going to want to chip away at that gap bit by bit. Have a look at the condition of the Alfa Romeo, and it is spick and span. So 5.5 seconds in the last 3.5 laps of this race. Oh, that's not going to help him at all. A spin for Mike. Might as well have just thrown away the podium in its entirety. There goes Burmeister through to take 4th. Maybe also Mitch to reclaim a top 5. This could be a good fight. Looking to the inside. Mike lets him through. And, well, what very easily could have turned into maybe a charge, a campaign for the podium in the final moments. It's very quickly turned into, well, throwaways. A bottle again. Big bottle. And you hate to see it. You really do hate to see it, but that's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately, sometimes. Avecchi, a 5-second penalty for ignoring the blue flags. That is going to be with his own teammate of Snoopy. No, it's not. Oh, no, it's with the McLaren, I think, maybe of David DePay. Yeah, is what I'm looking at on the bottom right of the track map. So, Royal might actually, through all of that, with no front wing, crawl home to take a podium. Burmeister up now 8 places in a very, very good display. But the class of the field has to be David DePay, who's only now got 3 laps of this race left to go. And Royal, a P3 is probably a save and grace, potentially. And another driver that we didn't really talk about much is Lazy But Talented. A spin there, that's either Snoopy Dread or Avecchi going round off the exit of Portier. But Lazy But Talented also had a really, really good race. And yeah, again, I'm very much impressed. Really, really impressed with Lazy But Talented. Impressed with the entirety of the top 3 in all fairness. David has just been flawless, apart from, of course, the penalty that has sort of tarnished the race just a little bit. But again, he's so far in front that it doesn't even matter. He's just been so dominant in his stride. He's on to the penultimate lap of the race now, of course, and well, the top 3 have had their own roller coasters of an event. Burmeister as well, standout driver in this race. Mitch, what could have been? What could have been if it weren't for a couple of small mistakes here and there, track limits, incursions, contact, but still scraping the top 5. Mike as well, another driver who started 6th, of course, a good result for him at face value for his season. I mean, just having a quick look. Didn't finish in Australia and P9 in Canada. No points in the sprint round at Italy. Finished P10 in the actual race. P10 in Spain. 5th in Hungary. So P6 right now is actually the second best result of the season for Mike. But it could have been better, and that is what counts. That's what's going to be stinging just a little bit. A fight for 9th. AJ Mando versus Cami. AJ's tried to bounce back and scrape as many points as possible in this race, but the penalty, of course, is going to be his Achilles heel, and, well, just his own driving, in all fairness, is his own Achilles heel. And as unfortunate as to say, as mean as I feel saying it, it is very much true. On to the final lap, though. David DePay, the young man from the Netherlands. A week until his home race, he will go into that race with his 3rd win in pocket. He's started from pole by just a 7/100th of a second, but thwarted the attack from AJ Mando in towards turn number 1 on the opening lap, was able to hang on since, and, well, has been under absolutely no pressure in a class of his own. David DePay, absolute class of his own. This young man, for McLaren, bringing not only himself to the top of the Drivers' Championship, but also his team forward in the fight for 3rd in the Constructors. He's got half a lap left to go, around the Monte Carlo Grand Prix circuit through the tunnel for the final time. He's got to enjoy it. A Sunday drive, really, I have to say. Mitch and Mike also very close. The swapperoo. Mitch falls himself outside of the top 5 coming onto the final lap with a lack of a front wing. But we turn our attention back to David DePay. He's got one more sector left to go. Through to back to cross the line. Here we go. What a sensational drive. One of the best of the season. One of the most dominant of the season. David DePay. He won in Spain. He won in France. He's about to win here in Monaco. He sees the checkered flag first to take victory for the Monaco Grand Prix. Round 7 of Season 7 of the League of MVP. What a drive that was from David DePay. We can, well, go make ourselves a cup of tea while we wait for second place. Lazy but talented, who himself, to be fair, has had a phenomenal showing in this race. Up into second, and one can enjoy the drive all the way around. Burmeister actually on the back of Royal on the final lap. Could we see maybe the change for the podium as we see Lazy but talented across the line? He takes second place for Mercedes. But what's the situation? AlphaTauri on the back of a very damage-stricken Red Bull. These two are actually in a fight for the constructors, these two teams, but equal on penalties and actually side by side. He's going to try and hang on as best he can, is Royal. Burmeister going to try desperately to find a way through. What last lap drama this is, parking the bus. Oh, contact! Sent into the barrier. Goes Royal, and Burmeister, oh, he's going to be kicking himself at that one. So close, but to no cigar. Royal hangs on at the death of it very, very aggressively, making that Red Bull as wide as possible. Takes his first podium of the season with a third place here at Monte Carlo. Burmeister 4th. Mike in 5th, and less than a second actually covering that fight for the podium. Incredibly, incredibly close, and an incredibly, incredibly dramatic finale to what was an incredibly, incredibly dramatic Grand Prix de Monaco here on F1 22. As I said, for the League of MVP. Burmeister takes driver of the day, and well, in terms of positions gained, I'd agree with that. But in terms of sheer driving ability, there's no doubt that it's going to go the way of David DePay. What a drive. Phenomenal drive. And while we wait for the podium cutscene to load, while we talk you through the results and then wrap up, of course, all the action here for the League of MVP. There we go, the man himself. Joined on the podium, of course, by not the Prince of Monaco, but more Benjamin Daly, who's now been swapped out for some random fella. But we skip, of course, and take our way to the results. The final results after 39 laps here around the Monte Carlo circuit, from pole to flag, and well, that really did tell the whole story for David DePay. Dominant all the way through the race. Didn't quite get the fastest lap, but that didn't really matter to him. He catapults himself to the front in terms of the drivers' standings at the end of round 7. Lazy but talented and Royal round off the podium, very, very close. Burmeister from 12th to 4th with the fastest lap as well going his way for AlphaTauri. Mike rounds off the top 5 with Mitch up 1 place. Could have been better, could have been worse for the Englishman. Eventually just in behind for P7. Then comes George, Cami and AJ Mando, your top 10. Not a race. The previous championship and ex-championship leader in this season. Second place, of course, coming into this round. He's going to be kicking himself and looking to bounce back for more. Snoopy Dread, 2 laps down. Smidge, Famp, Dino, Unbeaten, Process, Josh and Gunslinger all unable to finish this race. Did not see the checker flag at all and will not be reaping any rewards from now round number 7. And well, unfortunately, that is going to round off all of the action. What a race it was, of course. I thank you all for joining me in the commentary booth. My name has been Zach Sweeney. I'm the commentator for League of MVP. This has been Season 7, Round 7 here at Monaco. In a week's time, we take to Zandvoort on the 26th of February, the Dutch Grand Prix. After that, we go to a sprint round in Austria before a 3-week sprint all the way to the finale for Shanghai, Saudi Arabia, and, of course, Abu Dhabi on the 26th of March for the season finale. Do not miss it. Same time, of course, 8 p.m. Central European Time, 7 p.m. GMT for those of us in the UK. Translate that to whatever time zone you are around the world because you are not going to want to miss it. I will, of course, be in the commentary booth. I look forward to seeing you all in the YouTube chat. Make sure to tell your friends, family, share the stream around, like, subscribe to the League of MVP channel, turn on the bell for notifications to make sure you don't miss an absolute thing. But in the meantime, take care, enjoy your week, and goodbye.